I can say you're a criminal because you have been found guilty of 34 convictions. Like, I can say all these things because they are true. That's not even just free speech. These are just facts. So don't get mad that I speak the truth and I speak facts, but I literally have never said anything to invoke violence. And I challenge somebody to go and find a clip of a Democrat invoking violence.
Meanwhile,
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
The lies! There you go, this bitch. The lies.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Mika, and we're back for another Red Cup Talks because this is where truth, pop culture, and politics meet. So I want to come on and talk about how the liberals are trying to backtrack from their violent and reckless rhetoric that they've been having for a long time now. And this is because what just happened last week with the assassination of conservative Charlie Kirk. And with that, the liberals have been trying to backtrack, saying they have not said anything violent, like go out and do something to other people, especially conservatives, when they're lying through their teeth. And yes, their main talking head, Ratchet Jasmine Crockett, has been an habitual offender of calling Donald Trump all sorts of names. But of course, she is taking no accountability. Go figure. As well as saying you can't find Democrats saying anything violent. Yeah, this is what she's saying. When we know for the last, 4, 8, 16, 20 years, Democrats have been doing this. They act like we don't have the internet. So with that being said, today we're going to discuss all types of liberal government officials. But first, we're going to start with Ratchet Crockett on The Breakfast Club. Watch.
I can say that your policies are bad. I can say you're a criminal because you have been found guilty of 34 convictions. Like, I can say all these things because they are true. That's not even just free speech. These are just facts. So don't get mad that I speak the truth and I speak facts, but I literally have never said anything to invoke violence. And I challenge somebody to go and find a clip of a Democrat invoking violence.
All right, you guys, that was Ratchet Crockett, aka Jasmine Crockett, over there on The Breakfast Club, saying that she could say that Donald Trump has bad policies, which she can, okay? Anybody can criticize anyone's policies. I don't have a problem with that. It was her next statement. I can say that you have 34 convictions, so you are a criminal. Yeah, she's trying to be facetious because she knows if someone walks up to someone saying, hey, that person has 34 criminal convictions, they're going to automatically think the worst. When she knows that Donald Trump was convicted of a white-collar crime, which did not have someone that got hurt because the bank spoke in the defense of Donald Trump. And New York State even recommended that it was ridiculous to try it and wanted to throw it out. But, Respucia over there, yes, Letitia James, wanted to keep the case going on. So she got what she wanted because now we get to use the case for her. However, Ratchet Crockett knows what she's saying. And to her last point, she says, I employ somebody to go and find, Democrats saying all of this stuff, saying violent rhetoric. I want you to go and find liberals saying these things. Ma'am, do you really want us to actually do that? Okay, well, let's do it. Here we go.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Punch some people in the face.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
All right, so you guys saw that. Now, that is just some of the things online, okay? We can find hundreds of videos just like that. However, with that being said, now I want to move on to government officials. Now, in Cleveland, there is a city councilman who is under fire for what he said just a couple of minutes after Charlie Kirk was murdered. And now guess what? He's losing his job, and it's because he decided to be nasty and vile, and his own constituents found it disgusting. Per usual, trash Democrats. Watch.
A local lawmaker is in hot water for comments made about the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Fairview Park City Council President Michael Kilbane is drawing fierce backlash for this social media post calling Kirk, quote, not a good person, just hours after he died. News 5's Maya Lockett spoke with Kilbane tonight as he was heading out of town to escape the death threats he says he's now receiving.
It's horrifying.
Fairview Park neighbors are upset with their city council president, Michael Kilbane, for a comment he made following the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
I said how I honestly felt about something, that in my opinion, I meant nobody any harm.
Hours after Kirk was shot in the neck at an event at Utah Valley University Wednesday, Kilbane commented, "A lot of good people died today. Charlie Kirk wasn't one of them," on a post regarding Kirk's death.
Somebody screenshotted it and spread it as far and as wide as they possibly could.
Sir, you will not blame being screenshotted. Okay, you will not blame that. That's what you said. And it's on the internet. It's on the worldwide internet. If something is trending, being that Charlie Kirk has just died when he, tweeted that, or whatever they call it, an X post, whatever. When he tweeted that, he said what he said, and he was in the algorithm. Nobody had to screenshot it. My G, this was what you said. Stop the BS. Take accountability for your BS. It is what it is. Guess what? You said it. Now stand on it.
Since his comment, he says he has received multiple threats.
Been getting a lot of out of town hate mail, death threats, I guess bomb threats.
You don't regret anything that you said then?
No, I believe he's not a good person.
I'm sure Charlie Kirk.
So I stand by what I said.
Kilbane argues that Kirk wasn't a good person because of certain views he had.
When asked about mass shootings at schools, he said that that just comes with the territory, Kids get killed. It's all for the Second Amendment, So.
Charlie Kirk never said any of that. He didn't say it was okay to have mass shootings. Let me show you what he actually said about the right to bear arms and what happens when you have a country full of people with guns and what comes with the territory. Watch.
Now, we must also be real. We must be honest with the population. Having an armed citizenry comes with a price. And that is part of liberty. Driving comes with a price. 50,000 people die on the road every year. That's a price. You get rid of driving, you'd have 50,000 less auto fatalities.
That's a fact.
But we have decided that the benefit of driving, speed, accessibility, mobility, having products, services, is worth the cost of 50,000 people dying on the road. Wow. So we need to be very clear that you're not going to get gun deaths to zero. It will not happen. Right. You can significantly reduce them through having more fathers in the home, by having more armed guards in front of schools. We should have an honest and clear reductionist view of gun violence, but we should not have a utopian one. You will never live in a society when you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death. That is nonsense. It's drivel. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. How did we stop shootings at baseball games? Because we have armed guards outside of baseball games. That's why. How did we stop all the shootings at airports? We have armed guards outside of airports. How do we stop all the shootings at banks? We have armed guards outside of banks. How do we stop all the shootings at gun shows? Notice there's not a lot of mass shootings at gun shows. There's all these guns.
Not one.
Because everyone's armed.
And that's why I can't stand a liberal, because that man never said, oh, school shootings are okay. Yeah, he's a dumbass for what he just said, because you're saying something that the man didn't say. I mean, for Christ's sakes, the man is dead. So don't lie on him. A liberal is a coward. A liberal is a liar. Like Michael X was just so correct. The person that calls themselves a liberal is the most dangerous person in the Western Hemisphere.
It's awful what happened to him, but I guess you kind of reap what you sow, you know.
And in response to his comment, community members in Fairview Park have organized a protest against Kilbane here Monday night.
He needs to get out of office.
Neighbors who took their frustrations to social media and the organization Cuyahoga County Moms for Liberty is urging for City Council to remove Kilbane from his role.
It's one thing to obviously not agree with everything that Charlie Kirk believes in or says, but to almost have words of like celebratory for a brutal murder.
People are asking that you get removed from your seat. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, that's up to the voters. The voters have put me in the seat for 18 years. So, and I think I've done a pretty good job by the voters.
This isn't the first time residents have been upset over a post by Kilbane. Back in 2023, people were mad over a deleted 2021 social media post. That was a response to the aftermath of the George Floyd killing and other race-related incidents involving the police and the Black community. The city of Fairview Park posted a statement saying Kilbane's comments and opinions were protected under the First Amendment. I did reach out to the city of Fairview for comment on this incident and Fairview Park Police, but have not yet heard back.
Now, yes, I agree. His comments are protected under the First Amendment. But you know who has the right to get him up out of office? The white liberals. And that's exactly what they're going to do, because they don't like what that man said, because what he said was disgusting and vile. He did not have something to say about what Charlie Kirk actually said, and he wasn't even debating that. He really went straight for the jugular, talking about who died in that day and who wasn't or was a good person. Because let's be clear, that's subjective, because I can tell you right now, most of you libs are not good people at all, okay? Especially the ones who love to protect people like racist Joe Biden, who did a whole eulogy to a KKK member. I mean, got up there and spoke with conviction, okay, to a KKK member, Robert Byrd. You gotta love it. Now, last but definitely not least, I want to show you what happened on Piers Morgan, because they were talking about, you know, liberals and the rhetoric that they spew and what they know the right won't do. So they go ahead and antagonize and push and do all of these things that led up to the moment of Charlie Kirk's murder. Just like Ratchet Crockett, the libs are dodging and diving. You know, we didn't say this, we didn't say that, yada, 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 when they are definitely responsible. And I want to show you how well this young lady articulated this point. Watch.
One side of the political aisle in America is heavily armed, and it's the other side that commits the vast majority of political violence. You know, there's a tacit admission from the left that their side is the violent side, because if somebody, God forbid, if a big left-wing influencer, God forbid, was killed, what they would be doing immediately is boarding up every single major city in America, because there would be rioting and looting. People would die. We know that tens, if not hundreds of people died during the BLM riots. And obviously, none of that has happened, and none of that is expected to happen, despite the fact that the right, whose avatar was just murdered in cold blood, is heavily armed, right? So there is this tacit understanding from the left, even as they call the right the source of all the political violence and fascists and Nazis and what have you, that actually the right will not pick up their arms and turn on their leftist neighbors, right? They rely on the forbearance of their conservative neighbors who are much more heavily armed not to actually take revenge. And we all know that this is happening. They just won't admit it. It is so amazing to sit here and have people bring up case after case after case that has been like thoroughly debunked. You know, just because Josh Shapiro is a Democrat doesn't mean the person who tried to assassinate him was a Republican. That guy did it, he said, because Josh Shapiro is killing his Palestinian friends, okay? And we have cases like that again and again. They have to keep going back to January 6th, which, as Vince pointed out, no one was killed except Ashley Babbitt, who was one of the protesters, to compare a meme posted of a Halloween costume to people actually saying the things that murderers then use to justify their killing. Like the guy who killed that couple outside the Jewish Museum in DC, or like this killer who killed Charlie, saying the exact same things you hear from the most prominent Democrats is facetious. It is facetious to compare an actual justification for murder that turns into murder with a photo that gets posted. And this is why conservatives are so frustrated, because they know that even as the left is demonizing them, the left is tacitly acknowledging that they're not actually in danger from their conservative neighbors.
All right, you guys heard all of that. So here are my thoughts. Let's pour it up. Politicians like Ratchet Crockett and that city council gentleman are the worst politicians. And of course, they're liberals. Go figure. And the reason why they are the worst is because they don't do anything but lie, and they never want to take accountability, okay? Ratchet Crockett goes on and on and on about somebody being Hitler, somebody being a Nazi, this, that, and the third, okay? When I tell you she's a lie, she's a lie. I mean, look at her. Everything on her is a lie. But not just that. When I tell you that her lies are to influence the dummies that follow her, okay? Because you have to be stupid or dumb to really sit there and listen to this woman and then not go look it up, okay? The woman is a liar, and you can just go Google it. But they don't, because they like being lied to. And so therein lies the reason why somebody like Ratchet Crockett will go out and say, yeah, there is no Democrat that you can find saying violent things about Donald Trump, when I just showed you a whole montage of them. And then the city councilman getting on, national television say, well, I was just saying what I thought. Yeah, you can say what you think. That's freedom of speech. But you cannot stop what other people think. And your constituents who happen to be liberals want to vote you out because you're trash, all right? Because just moments after somebody dies, that is what you think of. That is what you say. What if that was Barack Obama? If somebody does that, somebody says that, oh, we're going to have a fit. Yeah, we're going to have a fit because he was the president of the United States. And that's what you're saying? Yeah, you guys are full of it. So at the end of the day, the young lady on Piers Morgan's show is right. Liberals know what they're doing. They know what they're saying, and they know the other side, which is the right or the conservatives, are heavily armed, and they still won't put the others in danger. We all know most of the political violence comes from the left because they're just insane. Okay, let's call it what it is. Most have mental health issues. They're at these liberal colleges, okay, getting all this liberal academia, and they're being indoctrinated. Let's just call it what it is. They're being indoctrinated because the shooter for Charlie Kirk comes from a conservative family, and all of a sudden now he's a radical leftist living with a trans person. I have no problem with it. But the facts remain that it's something to be said that there's that connection, okay? There's something to be said about it. But yet the left just does a blame game, just like they do in Chicago with the ratchet mayor over there, Brandon Johnson with the mohawk from 2009. Yeah, him. They don't tell the truth in New York, where you really have a racist governor, the governor that said, black kids don't know the word computer. And then just all the racist liberal policies all the way from when this country was founded through the civil rights era. Yeah, we'll have these N-words voting for the next 200 years. And boy, was he right. Because at a 92% clip, the 92% are voting for them. Go figure. And that's because they know how to pull on heartstrings. They know the violent things to say to make you feel a certain way. Liberals are very good at the psychology of the worst kind of people, but making it sound good, making it sound justified, and making it sound like it's the right thing to do and say, all because you don't like someone's speech. Go bigger. But with all that being said, if we don't come together, guess what? We won't have a country. And I'm telling you right now, that was the realest thing Donald Trump ever said. So you can keep doing what you do, America. The liberals, you can keep doing what you're doing. But guess what? When you don't have a country, don't say, I didn't tell you so. But I could be wrong. So you guys get down in the comments, like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you think about Ratchet Crockett going on the Breakfast Club, another Democratic hellhole show. Yeah, let me know what you think about her going on there talking about Donald Trump, per usual, because they have nothing else to talk about and she has no legislation. Go figure. And let me know what you think about the city councilman that was afforded freedom of speech. Okay, yes, the government didn't do anything about what he said online, but his constituents will. And last but not least, let me know what you think about that episode of Piers Morgan, because when I tell you that lady went off and she spoke the truth, it was nothing but the truth. Oh, and let me know what you think about my little injection of Charlie Kirk's right to bear arms, because I'm so tired of seeing like little clips of it. So I wanted to play the entire thing, because you can't argue with dummies. You can't argue with stupid people. You got to actually prove it and give them the facts, and then let them argue the facts and look even dumber. You guys get down in the comments, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for your super chats. Thank you for your super thanks. Thank you for your cash apps. It is greatly appreciated. Thank you for supporting the show. It's your girl, Mika. Go ahead and like one of these videos. They're somewhere on the screen. I'm out. Peace.